Breaking news, folks. Rate buy downs, seller credits have made it to the expensive markets like King County. Beth, it's changing. The
There.
environment is changing. What's going on?
Yes, indeed, Michael. Yes. So I'm in the greater Seattle area here, and we've been pretty resilient overall as a market. And I have been seeing a trend start to gain a little steam recently. So people can always count on me for giving the boots on the ground. Like here, I just call it like it is, whatever that is, every week. So what I'm seeing this week is more buyers asking for 2-1 rate buy downs, buyer closing costs, things that we've been talking about that buyers should be requesting for a while now, especially the rate buy down. I think that's
Yeah.
very valuable. And sellers are willing to do that. Sometimes they'd rather do that than do a price reduction. And sometimes it helps you. Me as a buyer, I sometimes would rather have a credit toward my closing costs than a reduction in purchase price, because it makes more difference to my bank account and my bottom line if somebody gives a credit. So it is, I think, a great development that we get buyers having a little bit of negotiating power where they can ask for these things. It's been a little while in my market, and again, it's not every single house and every trans. If it's a hot competitive offer situation, you may not be able to do that, but
I think every offer should have one. And if the seller just says no, the seller says no. But I think every buyer today, right? Buyers have the power today. And sellers know mortgage rates are 8%. They're not blind to this fact. And if I was a great real estate agent like you are, clearly top 1% agent, I would be coaching up sellers that, hey, FYI, we're probably going to see something like this because it's just where we're at, right? There's a lot of people that can make the numbers work at, say, 7, that it just breaks them at 8. So if you can buy the rate down, with a 2% credit at closing, it could be the difference between a yes and a no.
Yeah, we have to find ways to make it work. And I've had a few agents call me recently saying, hey, my buyer has to have a 2-1 rate buy down. That's the only way they qualify to purchase the house. Can we make an offer? I'm like, yes, of course, please.
Of course.
Will the seller consider that? Yeah. We look at the totality of the offer. What's the seller going to net? That's what's important. If it works, it works. So have that conversation. I think it's valid. I think that even on higher end properties, it can make a difference. Maybe even especially on that, because if you're able to buy that rate down for 2 years,
really
a $1 million mortgage is going to make a big impact.
Absolutely right. Again, I think in this environment, certainly heading into the slower season, I would, if I was representing buyers, every offer would have a seller credit. Now, the seller could, of course, say no. That's their free will. But it would really be up to me to use how I use it, right? Because the seller's going to net the same. Do I just use it for less closing costs? Do I do a rate buy down? What's my plan for the property? There's all of these considerations. But as a buyer today, I would ask for a 2% credit in every offer.
Yeah. And I think investors, for typical vanilla investor financing, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a 2% credit is the max that your lender will allow. So run it by your lender to see what the maximum is that they allow. I think on primary residence, it's 3% or so, depends on your loan type. But look at that and then have your lender run the numbers a few different ways to see which is going to fit your budget the best. And sometimes you keep that in your back pocket. I mean, as far as you can ask for price reduction and credit, for example, if it's been on the market for a little while, sure. If you have to choose one or the other, then maybe work with your lender to run it a few different ways. Like, okay, if we bought this house for a lower price, this is what our payment would be. If we do it with the credit toward the closing costs, here's what it would be.
You got to work with a mortgage professional that's willing to run multiple scenarios. I think there's a lot of people out there that think it's always better to get a lower price. Now, a lower price will mean lower taxes in a lot of areas. I get it. It'll also mean a slightly lower payment, but it will likely mean more cash out of your pocket than doing closing costs. So again, run the scenarios. I don't think there is one right or wrong answer. There's a right or wrong answer for you, the buyer, in your situation.
Exactly. Yes. And as you mentioned, having that partner of the lender that can give you that coaching and guidance. And what I have found is that if you find somebody local who's very productive and responsive, you're going to have a much better experience. If you're going with an online generic, anonymous call center.
Not this time. Yeah.
They're not going to give you the guidance probably that you need. And they're also not going to necessarily be able to assure the seller when they accept your offer. You know, my lenders will call the seller, the best lenders call the listing agent and back up their borrower as to why they're qualified and why it all makes sense and why it's going to close and why there's not going to be any hiccups. And, you know, you want to make sure you've run all those numbers ahead of time. So you need to have your plan 100% sorted out, vetted, locked and loaded. So when the right opportunity comes up, you recognize it and you're ready to know what strategy to use. That's part of doing the daily work, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. The one question I didn't prepare you for, so we'll see how you tap dance, is I'm really starting to watch days on market over 30 days. It's really becoming obvious to me that's where the motivated sellers are. In King County, where does that first price drop happen? Is it a week? Is it 10 days? Is it 30 days? And just just estimates. I know it's not exact. But
typically 15 to 30 days.
15 to 30 days. Okay.
If you're in a hot market and houses are selling really quickly, then you need to do it maybe in 10 days. Okay. But you know, we're in a little bit of a lukewarm market now where some are selling really fast and some aren't. I coach my sellers, generally speaking, to go by the activity we're getting. So this is more for sellers, but I know as a listing agent, if we're in the zone where if we need to do a price reduction or not, if my phone is, if we're getting showings and my phone is ringing and people are asking for the inspection report, those three things, then I know that we're in the zone and something is going to happen. Okay. We don't need to do any course correction. But if one of those three things is missing, that means that we're close, but we're not quite there. Maybe a price reduction will make a difference. I know in my area, it needs to be, generally speaking, about a minimum of 3% price reduction to have a meaningful impact to bring people off the fence. If you do a tiny little price reduction, sure, you'll get a blip on the online sites, but it's not going to make anybody make an offer that wasn't making an offer before. It needs to be significant enough, at least 3 to 5% to be really compelling. Yep. So,
that's what I was thinking.
If you're over 30 days, it's time to come down. Everybody should know it at that point. If they haven't come down for 30 days, then the buyers need to come forward. And in some markets, I know in the Seattle market, people are hesitant to make lower offers. They wait for the seller to drop it to the right price tier, then they jump in. Okay. But I like to coach my buyers, like, why wait? Let's just do it
Take
now.
A shot.
Yeah, let's try it. So
yeah, I like it.
It pays to be a little cold.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, again, we're heading into the slow season. I just had a conversation with Omar in the inland or the high desert. During that conversation, I told him that I expect in his market to see some cancellation, withdrawals, or expireds as we get to kind of close to Halloween, because there are some people that, I don't know if it's technically wish pricing, but they don't have to sell. So they're like, hey, if it doesn't sell by Halloween, we're not in contract. I'm not going to be doing this during Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll wait to the spring. Do you think that plays out in King County as well?
Yeah. So what we'll probably start seeing is fewer new listings coming on the market. People are just going to wait to list. Okay. It's probably, we're probably about a month out from starting to hear those conversations from people. Like, maybe we'll just wait till after the holidays. Right. Which in the Seattle area, spring starts January 15th, you know, so people might wait till January 15th or thereabouts to put their house on the market. Once we get into November is usually when I start to hear that. It's kind of a small window here. Our inventory is so low that we don't see too many people withdrawing. We'll see a small handful here and there, but there's so little on the market that, but there are going to be a few people that maybe tried it and maybe it's for whatever reason, their house has been on the market for 60, 90 days. And maybe it is time to, in our MLS, if you take it off for 60 days, you can relist and drop those days on market. You have to wait 60 days off market to drop all that history. Okay. It's still there. People want to go digging, but it's not showing when you relist it doesn't show 91 days on the market. It'll be 0. So we'll start seeing those conversations pretty soon. I think once we get around mid-November, we'll start seeing people just waiting. Yeah,
I think that's coming. Beth, you do an amazing job. You hand out referrals to other top agents when people need them. How can people follow you?
Yeah, people can find me at bethtraversogroup.com and can message me through my website, or you can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Beth Traverso, or on the Facebook group for One Rental at a Time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Bye.